Don Wehby is the Chief Executive Officer of the Grace Kennedy Group Limited. He now joins us to talk about its unaudited report for the first 6 months of this year. Morning, Don.
Morning, Ralston, and morning to your listeners. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. How are you doing?
Good, man. Doing very well. Very well. So.
Now, your revenues increased by 5.6 billion or 16.5% to 39.3 billion during the first 6 months of this year. What were the factors behind that spike in revenues?
Okay, thanks a lot, Ralston. Well, one of the main factors, as you recall, we did an acquisition in the United States of July of 2014. The company name was Lafay. We have subsequently renamed it Grace Kennedy Foods USA LLC.
Okay.
And that has significantly contributed towards the increase in revenue.
Yes.
The other thing, Ralston, which I'm finding very, very encouraging from a Jamaica's point of view, is that our domestic food business, including our manufacturing subsidiaries, which we have 4 in Jamaica.
Yes.
And our main company, Grace Foods Services, has seen its best half year for many, many years in terms of its performance in Jamaica, both in terms of revenue and profitability, which I find that very, very encouraging.
Despite the tight economic conditions, what led to that?
Despite the tight economic conditions. But one of the things we have been very aggressive in terms of our promotions, Grace on the Move.
Yes.
Which saw us in 40 towns all over Jamaica, really re-engaging our customers, listening to our customers, understanding how we can improve. We were much more aggressive in terms of the pricing of our product. And if you look at the cost of production for us, with oil prices low, we noticed a reduction in terms of our cost of production.
Yes.
And obviously we have been working very hard over the last 6 months to become more efficient in the Grace Kennedy Group.
Okay.
And we are now seeing the benefits of that. But one of the things, Ralston, and you're one of the top economists, and we're talking about hard economic times.
Yes.
When you look at the products, or traditional products, the corned beef, the mackerel, the Viennas, I'm talking about significant growth in terms of cases.
Yes.
So
those are the things that people are purchasing in order to get through these tough times.
Through these tough times. But I'm very encouraged by the performance of our domestic food and our manufacturing plant, which supplies, as you know, a lot of the Grace products in terms of the ketchup and the tropical rhythms and the Viennas, etc.
Right.
So that's very encouraging.
Now, what are some of the initiatives being pursued internally to improve and increase efficiency?
Well, what we have done, Ralston, first of all, we have invested very heavily in technology.
Yes.
So you'd find for First Global Bank, 2 years ago, we invested $6 million in a new software program, FlexCube Oracle.
Okay.
And that is the intention of improving. I like to use the term improving productivity.
Yes.
Because that's what it's all about. Once you improve productivity, you'll be in the right spot. So we have invested heavily in technology. We have been looking very carefully at our business processes to see how we can eliminate duplication and cost.
Okay.
You recall in the first quarter of this year, I basically removed a layer of senior executives in terms of cost structure.
Yes.
I've asked my senior executives to actually go and run the subsidiaries.
Okay.
I want to put the best talent and best expertise in the subsidiaries. So previously we used to have divisional offices. We no longer have divisional offices. So the expertise in the divisional offices are now in the actual subsidiaries running them, and that's maybe one of the reasons why you're seeing that improved performance in terms of the domestic performance.
Okay. Now, what is happening with your Canadian and UK-based operations?
The Canadian operation is actually doing extremely well, and the UK operation is doing also well. The challenge that we have, why you see our profits are down for the first half of the year, and it was down for the first quarter, but I need to emphasize to your listeners and to the investment public out there that our performance, while it's down year over year,
20%.
20%, but it's actually better than planned, eh?
Okay.
So what you find is that when you do an acquisition, there's going to be a number of integrating costs, a number of one-off restructuring costs, and we actually planned for that in the first half of this year. So that's why we're better than planned.
Okay.
And what you find is that the efficiencies, the integration of the Grace brand in our company, Grace Foods USA LLC, is now complete. So we expect a much improved performance of that acquisition for the next 6 months. In terms of the UK, we continue to grow very well. Our aloe vera drink is growing significantly over there.
Yes.
And we are making good inroads into Europe, where we are now, as you know, in Holland, Germany, and France, and Russia.
Yes.
I just got a report from my colleagues in the UK that our Holland business is going to do very well, because we just signed a contract with one of the major retailers over there. So I'm optimistic about the growth of UK and Canada. We're going to go in Canada now. We are pretty dominant as an ethnic food distributor in the GTA, the Greater Toronto area.
Yes.
We're going to try and expand now into the Western Canada.
Okay.
Vancouver and Alberta and that area, because believe it or not, you know what I'm saying, Jamaicans are everywhere.
Certainly.
We did our research, because, you know, when you're going into new market, you have to do your due diligence.
Yes.
And believe it or not, there's a significant amount of Jamaicans and Caribbean people in Western Canada. It's not only in Toronto.
Okay. Now, what's happening with your Russian operations? How are they doing?
Russian operation is doing very well. Our coconut products are there. The coconut milk, the coconut water, and the coconut oil. It's doing pretty well. We're in 85 stores. Obviously, there's a lot of work there. So, but it's doing well. It's meeting our expectations. We're going to be investing more in marketing in next year. So I would expect to see an uplift in revenue. But the products are being accepted, and they are moving off of the shelves in Russia.
Okay. Now, moving from food to finance, you contended that First Global Bank recorded increased profits. What's your assessment of the new debt dynamics and the new interest rate path following the buyback of the Petrocarib debt?
Well, Ralston, I have not studied the numbers in any detail. I've been reading and listening to the commentary on the radio.
Yes.
But what I can say in terms of the buyback of the Petrocarib debt, and my thinking is that, and I heard a number this morning that is going to save us, I think it's 200 million.
250 million in foreign exchange.
250 million in foreign exchange. So based on that alone, I would say it's a good deal. But one of the things we have been strangled with is the level of debt in our country.
Right.
And when you look at the debt to GDP ratio, it was really choking us,
Right.
And we didn't have any funds to spend on our social services. And any transaction that would reduce that debt to GDP ratio, I have to support it.
Right.
And based on what I've been reading, it's going to be a significant reduction in that debt to GDP ratio. So it has my full support in terms of that transaction.
Right. Now, it places the central bank in a position to maintain a low interest rate environment and exchange rate stability at the same time. So it means that bankers will have to work harder for their money by financing real sector projects. What is it that we can expect from First Global?
Yeah, of course. And we have been doing that. You know, I was just speaking to one of my colleagues, a retired banker. And in the past, right, you had to go and see your banker and to get a loan. Now, the market is getting so competitive.
So the bankers will have to go to the clients?
The bankers will have to go to the clients. So Courtney Campbell and his team, and Courtney is very good at it.
Yes.
He spends most of his time out there meeting with clients.
Yes.
And trying to determine what projects that they want and how can First Global help them to move forward.
Yes.
I see personally a lot of opportunity in terms of the productive sector.
Yes.
In terms of tourism, and we have a number of requests coming in for that sector.
Okay.
I'm also very excited about the Bpo Industry.
Yes, yes.
A presentation was done to us, and I think certainly that sector is going to create a lot of opportunities for creation of jobs for university graduates. We know that is something that we have to find occupation for our youngsters.
Yes.
I'm also excited about the PPO, and I'm also excited about agro-processing.
Okay.
As you know, Ralston, that is part of my pet in terms of farmers and the peppers and the onions and the scallions, so we can start processing. We need to plant more. You know, Ralston, when I think
Don, hold that thought while we take a break for the time signal. When we come back, we'll continue. Welcome back. We're talking about the half-yearly report of the Grace Canada Group Limited, and our guest is the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Don Wehby. Welcome back, Don.
All right, thanks, Ralston.
Before we took the break, we were talking about rail sector development, tourism, business process outsourcing, and you ended at agro-processing.
Yeah, so one of the things, all right, so when you look at the numbers as released by our central bank, our food import bill is about $1 billion.
$1 billion US, yes.
$1 billion US, right? And I just saw a news report that it has been reduced. I think it's by a couple hundred, maybe 200 million.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But whatever the figure is,
yes.
Can you imagine we have this drought happening now, and we are still able to reduce that bill?
Precisely.
And my farmers, and I say my farmers, but the farmers in St. Elizabeth
yes.
who supply us our peppers, they are having a warm time.
Right.
And I think if we are very serious about agriculture and agro-processing, we need to have a national irrigation policy.
Precisely.
You know, so because that's global warming, that's the way the world is going.
Precisely. So some of the fiscal space that will get down the road, we must use it to deal with that problem. We hear that the National Irrigation Commission will be restructured.
It has to be.
Yes.
It has to be because, I mean, if you get that restructured and our farmers, who are one of the most talented and brilliant farmers in the world,
yes.
American farmers,
yes.
the little they have to work with and they are doing so much,
well,
right?
yes.
Can you imagine if you really
improve the situation?
First world environment with proper irrigation.
Yes.
So we need to think more long term.
Correct.
This fiscal space that we speak about,
yes.
right? We really need to ensure that we allocate it in a productive way.
Precisely.
So we're going to get future benefits from
Fix the water problem, irrigation and all of those things.
And not spend it on recurring costs because of pressure.
Precisely. Precisely. Now, yes, go ahead, man.
No. I was saying, you know, so I'm that's something that I'm really advocating, Ralston, in terms of, I'm happy to hear that the National Irrigation Commission is being restructured.
Yes.
And I really think that we need to put some capital behind it so our farmers can get the basic thing of water to grow their produce.
Right. The rural farm road network and all of those things.
All of those things. Big. And that can be, I mean, you and I are having a discussion now, but that can be a game changer for Jamaica.
Of course, certainly.
Can you imagine if we reduce that $1 billion to 500 million? Because some of the things we can't produce here.
Precisely.
Right? Can you know what it's going to have on our balance of payment and creation of jobs?
Jobs in the Jamaican economy.
Of course.
Yes, correct.
Of course.
Reduction in crime. The whole thing about rural-urban migration and crime.
Absolutely. So it's not a dollars and cents argument.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's much more than that.
Bigger than that.
Yeah.
Bigger than that. Okay. Now, we noticed that you have been increasing your investments in manufacturing. What's your assessment as to the future of the manufacturing sector? We see many more companies invest in manufacturing now. Grace Kennedy, Seprod, Lasco. What's your take?
Yeah, no, we have been investing over the years. If you're going to remain competitive as a manufacturer, you have to continue to, first of all, innovate, but you have to continue to upgrade your plant and machinery.
Right.
Or you're going to fall behind.
Yes.
And so we have been doing that over the years, and we have a new product development unit now, looking at new products that we're going to be producing through our factories. National processes, as you know, we do our Grace soups.
Yes.
We're looking to add some more lines there. Our Viennas in Savlamar and the hot dogs and the hams, tropical rhythms and the ketchup. But we're going to be coming out with some new products manufacturing in Jamaica. There's just one disappointment recently, which my team here were working on the numbers. But this sugar set.
Yes. How's that going?
Well, I heard our colleagues from the sugar industry insisting that it has to be implemented. But one of the things when the numbers are done, certainly for Grace Kennedy
yes.
and for tropical rhythms, it's going to be a big blow. Because one of the things that we did, our tropical rhythms, which was previously produced
overseas,
overseas, we brought it back, right? We're talking about probably 300,000-400,000 cases.
Yes.
And when we did the preliminary numbers with the sugar test, it's not going to make any sense for us to continue to produce it here, which would be, disappointing is a very, very mild word I'm using.
Yes, a big blow.
It's a big blow, and I was the one that insisted that I want the throughput through our own factories.
Yes.
So with this sugar testing now, and it's not going to be competitive, we have to make a business decision.
Yes, okay.
Because I have millions of people, you know, like in the product.
Yes.
And I'm for good sense will prevail.
Well, we hear that the discussions will continue with the Jamaica Manufacturers Association and the Minister of Agriculture, so we certainly hope good sense will prevail.
I really hope so, Ralston. And you know, we need to think long term because,
Yes.
you know, when you have a manufacturer and policies or measures coming like this,
Yes.
you know, you get a little shy to put more capital expenditure
Certainly,
in.
certainly.
Because you're going to say, what is next?
Right. And that is what we do not want.
And that's what we do not want. We want an environment that would encourage us to invest more and produce
Precisely.
more locally.
On a predictable basis.
That's a great word, Ralston,
Yep.
on a predictable basis.
Great. Now, how is your insurance segment doing?
Our insurance segment is doing pretty well. As you know, we renamed Jamaica International Insurance Company, GK General Insurance Company.
Right.
With that in mind, we have a strategy to expand outside of Jamaica in the English-speaking Caribbean.
Yes.
So we did an acquisition of a company, a controlling interest acquisition in a company in St. Lucia.
Okay.
We're going to be setting up branches in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Antigua by the end of the year.
Okay, good.
So that's going well. And in Jamaica, we're doing well. You know, Ralston, our domestic business, our Jamaican business, both in financial services
And in food, doing well.
Give God thanks, we're doing well.
Okay.
The first half of this year has been really good for us.
Okay. So finally, what's your message to the shareholders of the Grace Kennedy Group Limited?
Well, we have put the Grace Kennedy Group. As I said, we want it to be a global consumer group.
Yes.
Half of our profits outside of Jamaica by 2020. Our revenues in 3 different continents, Europe, America, and certainly the Caribbean and Africa.
Africa, yes.
And of course, to leverage our relationship with our international partners. We are with Western Union in 10 countries and we want to expand that more. What I'd say is that when you put a company in growth mode, obviously you're going to have to be reinvesting.
Yes.
So the rate of growth of your profitability is not going to be as fast if you're a mature business.
Precisely.
So the Grace business is in a growth mode and we're executing well on our strategy. So
Okay.
I'm very happy where we are, and I think the next 6 months of 2015 is going to be good, and you're going to see the realization of the benefits of those investments which we made in the first half of the year and even the last half of last year.
Okay.
And one of the things that I would say to my shareholders, we remain very, very optimistic about Jamaica.
Okay. Thank you very much, Don.
Thanks, Ralston, and thanks for having me, and you and your listeners have a good day.
Yeah, man. Pleasure as usual. You too. That was Don Wehby, the Chief Executive Officer of the Grace Kennedy Group Limited, talking about the developments of the company during the first 6 months of this year. He's very satisfied with what is happening domestically, and he contends that he's optimistic about the future of the Jamaican economy, given what is happening. His food business is doing good, his bank is doing good, the insurance business is doing good because of the policies being pursued in the management of the Jamaican economy.